Nous présentons.
Today we are presenting the new stage on our strategy to fight against the coronavirus. As you'll be aware, vaccination is progressing. Up until now, about 33 million doses have been delivered. 22 million people have received at least one dose, and 7 million have been the second dose. We must and we shall accelerate vaccination in the weeks and months to come. The delivery of the 3 vaccines that have been approved will increase. New vaccines will come on stream in the near future after they have been approved by the EMA. The situation is evolving, however. We are seeing an increased number of cases of COVID linked in to new variants, and new variants of the virus are emerging in Europe and around the world. Up until now, the vaccines that have been approved in Europe appear to be effective against these new variants. But these variants are more infectious, so there are going to be more infections, and that will mean more variants, and these variants could be more resistant to existing vaccines.
19 variants first identified in the United Kingdom, South Africa and Brazil are a potential paradigm shift in the global fight against COVID-19. Over the past weeks, EU countries have observed a substantial increase in the number and proportion of COVID-19 cases caused by these variants. Looking at the evolving situation, we just know how much time and structures are of the essence. And this is why we are today presenting the HERA Incubator. It is a new public-private cooperation pooling the knowledge and the resources of industry, of the research and science community, of the whole health sector, and public authorities and regulators. The aim is to use our combined strength to get ahead of the curve for the next phase of this virus, from the early detection of the new variants all along the whole chain up to the rapid mass production that is necessary if we have adapted second-level or second-generation vaccines. The good news is we have a lot to build on and a lot to learn from. We know what works well, and equally we know where there were delays, disruptions and bottlenecks the first time round. And with this in mind, HERA Incubator will focus on 5 main priorities. First of all, it's the sequencing. To identify variants quicker, we need to know more about the many possible facets of this virus to be able to combat it. Second, if necessary, science has to adapt the existing vaccines, so we have to focus on the research. Third point, we need well-organized clinical trials to have evidence-proof data fast. And that is why we are launching today a European clinical trials network. Fourth point, we need to enable EMA to fast-track the regulatory approval of updated vaccines and manufacturing sites. And fifth and finally, we need to further upscale mass production of new vaccines, but also of existing vaccines. On all 5 areas, the Commission will channel organizational and financial support through the HERA Incubator. We will focus on improving information sharing. This is of utmost importance among the stakeholders, on planning and coordination in the detection and the response to the new variants. Stella Kyriakidis, the Health Commissioner, and Thierry Breton, the Commissioner for the Industry, will speak about it in more detail. Lassen Sie mich
at this stage, before I conclude, allow me to highlight the most urgent measures once again. First of all, the early detection and recognition of variants. Comprehensive Europe-wide genome sequencing must be speeded up. it is important for the HERA Incubator to operate in close cooperation with the ECDC and the Member States in order to boost the sequencing capacity and in order to be able to use the new COVID tests on a large scale. Secondly, the second building stone here is that we need to support these undertakings when they adapt vaccines to new variants. So there is a great deal of research involved, and the first step is to allocate 150 million euros for research projects in order to support this research. The third point has to do with the clinical studies, clinical trials. They must be coordinated better throughout Europe. And I'm very pleased that today we have an EU-wide and EU-financed clinical trial study. It's being launched today, and about 16 member states are involved, and a number of different stakeholders, hospitals, and so on. This is the first Europe-wide study network to deal with these vaccines. We are setting the bar very high. We are improving the quality of data, the quality of data collection as well. And this data will be made available to EMA much faster. The fourth point, the process of market approval for improved new vaccines must be streamlined. This is possible because now the technology, for example, the NMRE technology, has been tried and tested in the meantime. So we must start assessing the adjustments and no longer the actual basic vaccine. It's much the same process as the one we have for flu jabs every year. And then, of course, we must speed up the certification process for new production plants. And it is for this reason that the Commission has now adjusting the legal framework in these areas. And another important factor is that we must ensure that both in the short and in the long term, we have sufficient manufacturing capacities in Europe. The HERA Incubator will work hand in hand with the European industry in order to create a network of production plants and production plants that can be available on call. When we need to ramp up production, it can be done immediately and on the basis of well-trained and staff.
We have to invest at large scale. We have to partner up. This is why we are proposing HERA Incubator now. And this is the message I will take to the next week's meeting with the heads of state and government, the EU leaders. I will call on them to endorse this proposal and support its rapid implementation. Thank you very much. And Stella, perhaps you want to take the floor.